But let's move into the top 10 of our starting small forwards for the 2017-2018 season. Do want to apologize again. I feel like I've been off my game.
Are we in 2018-2019 season?
I don't care. What year is it? It's 2018. Yeah, it was 2018-2019 season. 2017-2018 sounds good. 2018-2019 sounds weird.
Just one of those nights.
Yeah, again, I apologize for this podcast. I'm sorry you wasted your time on this. We're much better than this typically. Last week was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think Dave's just throwing me off. He's too pretty. But let's jump into the
He just
top
called you
10.
a pretty boy.
He also said I had no shot, though. He was pretty right.
You were
with
so
that.
bad.
I am bad at basketball.
Did you work on it?
I was on vacation. No. I'm going to work on it now.
I don't know.
No, we didn't.
But will you do this a little bit differently for top 10 instead of just going through the aggregated top 10 that we put together, added it up all up, and came up with a nice pretty list? We do our individual rankings, and then we go to the official rankings. So we'll start off with Ricky. Ricky, give us your top 10.
Well, starting off at number 10, it's Jumpin' Joe Ingles from the Utah Jazz. Then Brandon Ingram of the Lakers at 9. Otto Porter of the Wizards at 8. Harrison Barnes of the Mavericks at 7. J-Tay of the Celtics at number 6. Then it's Chris Midd of the Bucks, Paul George of the Thunder, Jimmy Butler of the T-Wolves, Kawhi of now the Raptors, and then Kevin Durant, the true number 1 small forward.
Why did you say it like that?
I don't know, because last year you guys both had LeBron and I had KD, and now there's no
I was saying the
debate.
Raptors.
Well, because
now
like,
the Raptors.
It's weird to say the Raptors for Kawhi Leonard. I'm used to saying Kawhi Leonard of the Spurs.
Dave, give us your top 10.
Fair enough. Number 10, Joe Ingles, consensus top 10 player. Number 9, Harrison Barnes, the Brick Machine.
Not true.
Brendan Ingram at number 8, Jason Tatum at number 7.
Just call Harrison Barnes a brick machine.
He's a brick lane machine. That's what he does. Jason Tatum at 7, Otto Porter at number 6, Chris Midd at 5, Paul George at 4, Jimmy Butler at 3. He's better. Kawhi Leonard at 2, and Kevin Durant at 1.
Now my personal rankings at 10, I have Robert Covington of the Philadelphia 76ers. At 9, I have Will Barton. At 8, I have Harrison Barnes. At 7, I have Jason Tatum. At 6, I have Otto Porter. At 5, I have Chris Middleton. At 4, I have Jimmy Butler. At 3, I have Paul George. 2, I have Kawhi Leonard. And number 1, I have Kevin Durant. And that ends up for our official rankings being number 10, Joe Ingles of the Utah Jazz. Number 9, Brandon Ingram of the Los Angeles Lakers. Overrated. At 8, we have Harrison Barnes of the Dallas Mavericks. At 7, we have Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics. At 6, we have Otto Porter of the Washington Wizards. At 5, we have Chris Middleton of the Milwaukee Bucks. At 4, we have Paul George of the Oklahoma City Thunder. At 3, we have Jimmy Butler of the Minnesota Timberwolves. At 2, we have Kawhi Leonard of the Toronto Raptors. And at number 1, we have Kevin Durant of the Golden State Warriors. Ricky, do you still believe, if LeBron was here, do you still believe KD's number 1 small forward?
Yes, because of the same reason I said last year.
Yeah,
like
just you can cut the mic.
No,
we're done with this
I
garbage.
cut it for a little bit.
LeBron had a ridiculous season, so I'd probably put him first. But
correct me if I'm wrong.
Remember
you also
last
voted
year,
for LeBron for MVP last year and this year?
Yes.
You would have voted for him?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, but
okay,
remember...
So back-to-back MVP isn't even the best of his position.
Remember, last year it was, how can he be better than Kevin Durant? Kevin Durant just beat him in the finals. Where this year I have a little bit more sympathy for LeBron because that team he dragged to the finals.
So I would
put LeBron at number 1.
All right,
I'm just fucking with you, Sean.
You said it first. I was just clarifying.
I like yanking your chain.
Well, it's confusing. It's not yanking my chain. It's confusing. But anyways, let's go into Dave's boy at first with Joe Ingles. Before we get
Can we
into
address the elephant in the room, Sean?
What?
The lack of Jumpin' Joe Ingles in your top 10. Disrespectful.
I had him at 12.
Disrespectful.
I don't see him as a top 10 small forward. I'm sorry. Do I think that him on any other team will be this successful? Hell no. Is he successful on his own team? Yeah, he's 12. I don't think I'm underrating Joe Ingles. I think Joe Ingles is happy he's on any list.
Wow.
It's funny because I made the same comment about Dorian Prince earlier.
Did you?
I did. I think Hawk fans are just happy we got somebody on their team on the list. Oh, shit. Okay, so let me just address this a little bit better.
I think we didn't make fun of Tory
No,
Prince.
we actually we like him.
But the thing
That's where
too
the
is
Hawk fans acknowledge
this
him.
shooting guard we make fun of him called Kent Bazemore, and then
It's not
the
even
other
a
one's
thing.
Trae Young, and we were just laughing at him when we did
true.
the top
By
30.
the way, I did say that to Dave because I rewatched our segment.
Yeah.
I'm like, Sean just said Blazemore,
We don't
and I
even
didn't,
acknowledge
and I'm
his
like,
name.
I didn't even say
He
anything
smokes a
when
ton
we
of weed.
recorded it.
Yeah, it's just his name has been
it's a nickname.
dropped in the out. No, like I think the point we're trying to make with putting Joe Ingles at 10, at least the one that I was going into the segment, was what you had clarified multiple times throughout this is we all have the same top 5 with one switch between Paul George and Jimmy Butler. But after that, there's a clear divide in talent, in proven talent, I should say. So I think where it gets interesting is, we've got a lot of guys in there with a ton of potential. The Otto Porter, Jason Tatum, Brandon Ingram group, those 3 guys, we look to them as the future of this position. These are the young kids who have shown much promise and can continue to grow. Joe Ingles is kind of a wily veteran. He's a bit older. He's incredibly consistent. He's a smart player, defensively impressive, offensively just a sharpshooter. So I think it's one of those things where it's like he does everything you want him to do. He checks all the boxes, and he's very good at what he does. So why not give him the recognition as a top 10 small forward? He went to the playoffs. He's been a very... it's just one of those things where it's like you don't expect him to be there, but when you look at everything added up, you watch them play their games in the playoffs, you just go, yeah, that's weird, but he is.
This isn't an indicator of top 10 or not, but just interesting.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember how many wet boys he had regular season and playoffs altogether?
2.
How many? 1.
1?
1 playoff wet boy.
Yeah,
Nice.
because Dave put him in there.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, I
Dave.
did.
Yeah, that was Dave's boy. It's consistently been Dave's boy.
Literally since the beginning of the season, I called this. I did say last year I put him at 22 or something.
Yeah, you had him the
Yeah,
highest.
no, that was. And
but
you rubbed it in our
if
face.
you watch that segment, I'm sitting there talking about how he is going to be a stud. I did.
Well, you ended up. I put him at 22. You put him at 21.
I had him at 21.
21. Okay.
So technically, that was the highest on him.
But I was one gushing
Yes,
about
I
him.
know.
You guys you can go back to last year and watch this.
Yeah.
And me calling this.
Well, congratulations, Dave. You can take your victory lap. There was a very nice talk about what you think of Joe Ingles. And
Dave,
I don't
Dave
disagree.
just likes
again.
victory laps.
I do. I will
just
take
likes to
every
take
win I
them.
get because I've got a lot of L's I don't want to talk about.
And I don't disagree with what you said. Again, I just don't think that values a top 10 small forward.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with it.
That's the one thing. And then also, let's talk about the Brandon Ingram bullshit at 9. I put him at 13. He's not in my top 10. Ricky, you had him at 9. Dave, you had him at 8. Please sell me on Brandon Ingram in the top 10 because you made a very compelling argument for Joe Ingles in the top 10. I'm not buying Brandon Ingram in the top 10.
He's a long boy. Like he's
So
got...
we're basing him off of his length?
No.
I mean, he didn't play bad last year. Like last
Go ahead and
year,
read it off.
you look at the percentages: 47 from the field. That's not bad. Like I'll take for a sophomore. I will take 39% from 3, hoping that gets a little bit better.
I'm
I know.
1.8 attempts.
Okay,
I know.
okay. The
I
fact
know.
he said I will take 39%, I want to punch him in his freaking face right now.
The only thing is, like, I would want.
I get
more
the attempts
points.
number, but Jesus.
I would want more points out of Brandon Ingram, but you also have to take into consideration what is he going to be like this year playing next to LeBron.
He played.
What is he? I mean,
That's just going to make him better. LeBron's going to make him a better player.
He's the second
so he
best
jumps all the way to top 10? How does that make him a
No.
top 10 player?
He
'Cause
put
he's got
up
LeBron
he
next
put
to
up
him?
16, 5, and 4 last year. 59 games, and this was a lineup that had Lonzo Ball out. When you had Lonzo Ball in, you had Brandon Ingram in, you had better lineups. You had Julius Randle. Like that was the problem. They never really had their core together for enough games to see what they could do. Randle was impressive when he was out there, and that's who they went through. But I think Brandon Ingram, we got to watch him play kind of like a point forward role, and he looked really comfortable. And so I can see LeBron coming in as A, the best player in the league, B, a mentor, and C, now looking for his number 2 on this team. And that's where I see Brandon Ingram being able to fill that void. Brandon Ingram can be the number 2. He can be a 19-point-a-game scorer. He can be a guy who is the go-to guy off of LeBron James. And that's the thing that I'm like, why wouldn't this be a successful push for him? He improved dramatically. He had one of the worst rookie years that I remember seeing. I was like, number 2 pick. That did not look good. That didn't look good. I watched him play. His shot was off. His game feel was off. He was just getting by on excellent defensive awareness. And this year we watched him come along even further offensively. His defense was still pretty good. Like honestly, like I look at this and I just go back. I'm like, I think that he is going to be the number 2 weapon on this team after LeBron James. I know there's a lot of controversy because there's a lot of people who.
You don't think it's Kuzma?
I think Kuzma will be more of a 6-man role.
But I still think, I mean, when it comes down to the end of the games, Kuzma's going to be
Kuzma
in there.
same
and Kuzma,
points. I'm just saying. I think they average about the same points.
This year?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that while Kuzma is a good shooter, Kuzma's defensive issues lead to Kuzma not being on the floor as much. Brandon Ingram, amazing defender, good offensive player getting better. I just see the upside is there, the length is there, the athleticism is there. The basketball IQ is going to get better playing alongside guys like Rondo and LeBron James. I think everything is setting itself up. I should say this. I don't think he's the 8th best small forward today, but I think that he is in that
by the end of the season.
In that group of players that I talked about, the Otto Porter, Jason Tatum, Brandon Ingram. I think that is the future of the position, and I think that he well-deservedly deserves to be a top 10 small forward in this list.
Hey, Dave, you want to take another victory lap? You want to know why? Guess how many points both Brandon Ingram and Kyle Kuzma had at the end of the year?
The exact same?
16.1.
Hey.
This year. And that could be the same next year.
Who played more minutes?
BI had 33, Kuzma had 31.
Okay, so
I think
Ingram played...
But Kuzma also played more games.
Kuzma played...
But that doesn't matter.
77 games compared to 59.
It's a point per game.
I'm just saying, he had more reps this year. And
Well, that's more... I mean,
Yeah.
whatever. But and who shot more efficiently?
You had 45 overall, 36.6 for Kyle, and then you had 47 overall, 39 for BI.
But how many attempts from 3 for Kuzma?
For Kuz, that would be about 5.6.
so 3 more attempts.
4.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was 1.9 to
It's
5.6.
1.8 to 5.6.
Like 3 more times, 4 more times.
Say 4.
Yeah,
And also I think
Kuzma's
Kuzma's a better free throw shooter as well.
Whatever.
Ingram at 68. I mean,
still-
Kuzma's a better
Kuzma
scorer.
had 70, so it's
Kuzma's
not
a pure
that far
scorer.
off.
I'm not going to argue. Kuzma's a pure scorer. I think BI's just got potential to be an all-around stud, though. Like, he has the physical tools, he has the defense, he has the offense. He's grown so much in 1 year. I think another year, and with the right guys around him, he's set up to succeed.
The thing with that is I don't know if he has the right guys around him.
Ooh.
Because again, you talk a lot about his ability as a point forward. And that intrigued me.
They showed it a little bit.
That
yeah.
intrigues me a ton. But now having Lonzo Ball, now having Rajon Rondo, now having LeBron James,
Right.
that's going to take a lot of his possessions as a point forward away.
It's true.
So that's one thing is now he's going to have to turn into a spot-up shooter. He's going to have to turn into a guy that works off ball. And I don't know if he's going to be able to do that.
Well, the LeBron thing, I put that with a grain of salt because of all the talk of, LeBron wants to play more off ball. So, I mean, of course, LeBron's not going to play totally off ball, but LeBron, I think, with the Lakers is not going to be the ball-dominant LeBron that we've been used to.
I think the thing you have to keep in mind is the regular season is kind of where we're going to see him get more of a chance to grow. Mm-hmm. I think the playoffs, you will see LeBron and Rondo be much more ball dominant and have the ball in their hands more, and you'll see guys be, relegated to a smaller role. But I think during the regular season, I know it's the West, and I know LeBron's competitive as all fuck, but I still believe that Brandon Ingram will have his chances out there, and he's still going to be, option B or C at worst.
Here's the one thing I throw out there, and again, this is why I think it's, at least my concerns are valid and why I put him a little bit lower.
Yeah.
We talk about, he shot 39% from 3. Okay, 86% of his shots were from 2. 18 were from 3.
Yep.
And he shot 39%. That's fine. But if he's going to need to take that next step into a great scorer, he's going to need to shoot more threes. It's pure and simple. The guys that we were talking about above him on this list are shooting, 40% of their shots are threes. Maybe 35 to 40% of their shots are 3, and some guys, maybe even up to like 50 for KD. And then also, you look at his threes assisted, not too crazy. Again, 95% of them are assisted. And not too many shots are happening. Threes are happening, and most of them are spot-up shots. Makes sense. He's hitting 39% of them. That's positive. But also, you look at his 2s, he's a guy that, again, creates a lot for himself.
He does.
So not being able to create for himself, 36% of his 2s, again, 86% of his shots were 2s. 36% of those were assisted. So that means he was either cutting to the lane or, obviously, a quick pass, spot up shot from mid range, and it's good. The other, 64% or whatever it is, 64% of his shots, pretty much, of his 86%, were created by himself, where he was driving, and he wasn't set up by anybody else. So again, he wasn't able to consistently show, and he didn't show a lot of it, at least. He didn't show a lot of his potential to score working off of somebody else's work. And that's something
that's all right, though. I think you want someone who can create on their own.
But I'm saying now with having LeBron, Rajon Rondo, and Lonzo Ball, again, he hasn't shown the ability to work off ball fully. Does he have the potential? Yes. But I don't think he's going to be able to. I don't know if he's going to have that ability to work off ball exactly right away.
I can't unhear it now.
I don't think he's going to be worried to work isolated from the ball.
From who?
The ball. enough to warrant a top 10 place.
And again, he played 59 games. Lonzo Ball played 52 games. So, I'm really curious to see where this lands out. But I'm putting there off of potential hype and, an incline. Or, right? That's your...
Upcline.
He'll be on the upcline. Upcline.
Upcline and downcline.
I just worry about it again.
Ricky, where do you feel like these guys?
With me, the thing that... I don't want to say concern, but I'll say concern, is the attempts. Because I look at it, Isaiah Thomas last year, 5.9 attempts from 3. Lonzo had 5.7. Kuzma had 5.6. Caldwell Pope had 5.
Real quick. I was wondering what the fuck Isaiah Thomas had to do with this, but you're reading off the Laker.
Yeah, the Lakers. Caldwell Pope, 5.6. Even Brook Lopez averaged about 4 threes
his
a
job
game.
was to stand in the corner and be tall.
There are most of the players on this team, like Travis Ware had more attempted 3 points per game.
He knows his game.
That's the only thing I want to see. And Sean's right. You got to improve that part of the game. You got to shoot a little more and have that percentage be there. But I think that having veteran players like LeBron, Lance Stevenson, Rajon Rondo is going to help this team.
JaVale McGee.
Well, it is.
Michael Beasley.
Hey, JaVale McGee brings...
Dominique Wilkins is going to come out of the grave.
JaVale McGee brings a guy who has finals experience on this team. He's had finals experience.
This is quality.
Championship winning experience.
You could also say that about real NBA players like Rajon Rondo and LeBron James as well.
I think JaVale McGee is a real NBA player.
He's more of an NBA player than I am.
Yep.
All right.
I don't know. I
agree the concerns are fair. I just think that I'm looking at
We're
this
just buying in on the hype.
I'm buying in the hype. I think that he's going to be option B or C on this team and going to get his.
I understand the hype. Is he a guy that has massive potential? Yes, and I agree with that. I just don't think with this team and this iteration of the team, I need to be proven wrong, at least, for him to be a top 10 small forward.
Fair.
That's all. But let's jump in a guy who we didn't believe in the hype last year, or at least I think we didn't believe enough in the hype, and clearly proved it was Jason Tatum. We have him at 7. Some people might say too high for a second-year player, but looking at all the other guys, I'm putting him above Joe Ingles. I'm putting him above Brandon Ingram. I'm putting him above Rokel, Will Barton. Jason Tatum was absolutely fantastic. We expect him to grow, especially with Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward coming back and hopefully playing full seasons. What should we expect from a guy like Jason Tatum? Because yes, those players are coming back, but that might mean he's getting less usage and less time with the ball in his hands.
My only question is, did we not believe in the hype on him? That was my... I
think we actually were pretty high.
It was Jaylen Brown we didn't believe the hype
but I'm saying I think we had him mocked at 7.
I think the 5-7 range.
Yeah, we had him mocked to 5 to 7. I also don't think we believed in the hype because a lot of Celtics fans were like, this kid's going to be great. I don't think any of us expect him to be rookie of the year or at least, top 2 finish for rookie of the year.
I'll be honest, there might have been a little bit of, all right, delusional Celtics fans.
I would say, if there's one fan base that just exudes just... Ugh.
Plus, it's just the
Celtics.
It's just Boston fans in general, and Sean kind of bleeds into this being a Patriot fan. They've won so much in other sports; they're just cocky. They deserve to be cocky.
No,
but they're just
and
cocky.
They've got the right guys in the front office to keep pulling off these moves. So when they're like, "Yeah, we walked away from that with Jason Tatum, the best player in the draft," I'm Boston fanning this.
Yeah,
Jason Tatum, the best player in the draft, and probably going to be the number 2 pick overall, number 3 pick overall from the Kings because they're going to shit the bed again.
The Kangs.
I don't want to hear from Celtics fans. We're giving you your credit this year. We're going, Jaylen Brown's great. Jason Tatum's been great. But his points don't concern me because he actually only scored 13 points a game last year. He was not their focal point of that offense. This was a very team game. But the nice thing about Jason Tatum was he played above all expectations of a rookie. I think he looked weirdly easy during games where they were in a heart attack mode. I feel like that was one of the things that I want to give Brad Stevens credit. That whole team kept a very calm demeanor throughout the whole time, and they were a young team, obviously because of all these injuries. It was really impressive to see him go out there, play defense against top wings in the league, going especially into the playoffs deep. Another year of watching Jaylen Brown do the rookie year stud against the LeBron James was awesome. And he definitely earned a lot of respect around the league. Jason Tatum earned his this year going through multiple teams in the playoffs.
Well, and that's why for me, I feel like the only thing with when I look at the individual rankings and kind of with the combined rankings, I feel like at the end of the year when we do these next year, you know how we had a consensus 5?
Yep.
Next year will be the consensus 6 and put that 6th spot as Jason Tatum because I feel like with another year with him in the system, even like I'm going to say when Kyrie leaves and goes to New York, because I feel like that's going to happen, he'll be the one to step up, be the leader with Gordon Hayward, with Jaylen Brown. And like that's why right now I'm like, you know what? Like I know Otto Porter he's not...
He's automatic.
He's not trash, he's automatic, but I mean... I sit there and I go, you know what? I'm jumping on this train early. I like Jason Tatum. I liked what I saw, especially maybe it's a little of the Joe Ingles syndrome that Sean was talking about with the played well in the playoffs, and that's kind of the last thing that I've seen from him. But I feel like at the end of the year, when we do these next year, it'll be, well, all right, the top 6 small forwards are what they are, and he's just slotted there at 6.
And one thing, shout out to Jason Tatum, I looked up, in his rookie year, he had an offensive rating of 111, and a defensive rating of 103. Just plug that bad boy into Basketball Reference. Here's the list. Here's the top 15 of players. This is ranked for win shares in their rookie year with the offensive rating and defensive rating of that. Number 1, Michael Jordan. Number 2, Chris Paul. 3, Blake Griffin. 4, Bill Cartwright. 5, Larry Johnson. 6, Terry Cummings. 7, Karl Anthony Towns. 8, Alonzo Mourning. 9, LaFonso Ellis. 10, Chris Webber. 11, Charles Barkley. 12, Kelly Tripucka. I don't know what that is. 13, Hot Rod Williams. 14, Dwight Howard. 15, Jason Tatum. So
pretty impressive company.
Pretty damn. I mean, he's up there with LaFonso Ellis. So I mean, like that's some Hall of Fame material. Right
Not
there.
Michael Jordan or anything.
No,
LaFonso Ellis.
But again, that's ranked by win shares. He's 15. And below him, guys like Kerry Kittles, Marc Gasol, Greg Monroe, Joe Smith, Nikola Jokic, Michael Finley's there, and also my boy Rudy Fernandez. Shout out, favorite player of all time. Rudy Fernandez.
Really?
Yeah, I love fucking Rudy. Favorite player of all time. I can't say anything today. But yeah. Anyways, Jason Tatum deserves respect, and we'll see. I don't see him dipping.
His playoff numbers were impressive. He bumped up massively, obviously there, and just I think it was just wholeheartedly impressive because like we knew he was smooth coming in. We made the comparisons early on with like his shot being like Danny Granger, Paul Pierce range of just that's how he plays offense. It's easy. It looks too easy at times, but the defense is honestly what impressed me the most this year out of him. It was just. I didn't expect him to be that good. Yeah, the 3-point shooting was always a consistency question. Nailed that, but defense was like, damn.
Yeah, he can play. I think I compared him coming out of college he reminds me of Melo, at least offensively, because he was so smooth. But fuck, I mean, he was unreal how smooth he was. In his first year as a rookie.
The cojones on him taking some last-second shots.
Extremely impressive how smooth he was. So shout out Jason Tatum. Let's look into some other guys. We talked about Joe Ingles, Brandon Ingram, and Jason Tatum. Any other guys you want to throw out there? I mean, do you want to talk about the whole Paul George, Jimmy Butler situation?
Yeah, why do you got Paul George above Jimmy Butler?
Because he's a better player.
But no, that's not.
But he's not.
Reasoning, please.
That is a reasosoning.
No, like in-depth reasoning.
So you have to actually give us something to...
Okay, Paul George last year was a better defender. Yes, he was at a better defensive team, but also by every other metric, there was, I think, there was a couple players that had a negative defensive box score plus minus. So meaning their team was worse when they were off the floor. That was Andrew Wiggins and Jeff Teague. Outside of that, and Jamal Crawford technically as well.
Yeah,
not a lot of players on that.
That's three starters.
Not a lot of those players on that terrible defensive Minnesota team were even taken off. Made that team better defensively. Jimmy Butler was not one of them. That team got better technically when he was off the floor. And he had a 0.1 of defensive box score plus minus. Some people might call it even. And Paul George also had one as well. It was completely negative. But also you look at him and Andre Roberson together. I think you said it.
I was reading off something awful on Reddit. Yeah.
With Carmelo on the floor, Andre Roberson, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony had a defensive rating of like 96. You take Carmelo off, and it's just Roberson and Paul George. They had a defensive rating of 81. I didn't know defensive rating went that low. So Paul George proved to be a better defender last year, and maybe he's not overall, but also...
To be fair, Jimmy was also hurt last year, so I mean, give him the credit of Jimmy came back early from injury and played
59 games last year.
Yeah,
that's fine. I mean, Paul George wasn't, so I'm going to give that a boost too.
But
like Paul George wasn't injured. He played great defense last year, and he came out, scored 22 points per game, which I think is exactly what Jimmy Butler scored. Shot 40% from three, 43% from the field, 82 from the line, grabbed near 6 boards a game, over 3 assists per game, 2 steals, 0.5 blocks. He was a great defender. He was good offensively. What's the difference? He finished better in the Western Conference than Jimmy Butler's team did? He finished 6th rather than 8th. Jimmy Butler's team is now in complete shambles because Jimmy Butler hates all the young guys on his team, where now Russell Westbrook and Paul George are signed long-term, and Oklahoma City has 2 guys that are going to be on their team for the next 4 years.
I mean, it's not Jimmy Butler's fault that he doesn't have Russell Westbrook playing with him.
I would say I feel like
but also Jimmy Butler's in the
I'm
place that he
saying,
wanted to go to is with his former coach and is getting babied. And
did he
also
want to go
star.
there? He was traded there.
He was traded, but he also
he didn't want to be on the Bulls. He doesn't mean he didn't want to play for Tibbs again.
Mm-hmm.
Does he want to follow Luol Deng's career path and lose his knees by age 29?
But it also feels like he isn't upset about playing with Tibbs. I don't think he had any bad will or intentions towards Thibodeau. I think that was a real bright spot for people who said he was going back to Thibodeau. I don't think it means anything that, Jimmy loves Tibbs, and I think Tibbs loves Jimmy. I don't think there's any ill wishes there. So get off
Jimmy's
of that.
high on Tibbs.
Jimmy's high on Tibbs.
Jimmy likes the Tibbs.
Paul George's
Jimmy
team
doesn't like the locker room now.
Just the Tibbs.
Yeah, Paul George's team.
Jimmy's not a fan of the cat.
Jimmy
and Wiggins are not good friends.
Jimmy does not like the Canadian Jordan, the Maple Jordan.
The Maple Jordan.
I knew you were going to fit that in there somehow. I had to.
Also, the Jimmy is not better than Paul George.
But he is. So here's
How?
the thing. Okay, I will give you this.
Paul George
is a better if Paul George is your second best player, he is better than Jimmy Butler. But if you need a 1, Jimmy Butler's a better 1. Jimmy Butler's a better distributor. He's a better leader, and he is better defensively one-on-one at locking down the best opponent on the other team. He is more of a leader, and I know clutch isn't a thing, but like Paul George is the opposite of that. Jimmy Butler is. Paul George isn't. There's a line in the sand.
That's fair.
And that's not even...
If there is one thing that is extremely clear, it's that Jimmy Butler is a better player in the crunch. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Outside of that, though, I mean, the stuff about the whole facilitator thing, Paul George can still facilitate. Over the past 3 years, he averaged 3.6 assists per game. Jimmy Butler, I think, is a little bit over 4. Sorry, it's at 5.
Yeah.
But 3.6
he also
to 5.1.
ball handles better and navigates traffic better. He works the full range inside out.
Paul George is stronger and can put his back to the basket more, and also is a better shooter.
Paul George is a better shooter from 3. Jimmy Butler gets the line, puts people in foul trouble, and forces the way they play the game to change.
Yeah.
I think he affects the way the opponent has to play defense, basically, because of the way he can get to the line with ease. He has that Harden-esque of ways to find contact. Like he's not as good, but he finds a way to get contact and to finish. And I think that's one of the things where Paul George, yes, is a better shooter, but Paul George also gets less fouls.
I will also say that Paul George's strength and also length is...
I don't know if he's stronger necessarily than Jimmy. I'll be honest.
Filled out. Jimmy's leaner.
Well, is it because Jimmy can also play originally Jimmy was a 2 guard.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy's leaner. I mean, he looks smaller than... I mean, also, Jimmy is a 2 guard.
Yeah.
With Wiggins on the team. Wiggins is technically the 3. We just didn't want to... We were too lazy and didn't want to change our rankings up.
Year over year is kind of fun.
I think that, again, Paul George has proven that he's better fit to, I think, guard 3s than Jimmy Butler is. Jimmy Butler is a good defender.
I don't know.
And
Jimmy
even a
Butler
great
is a
defender.
LeBron stopper.
Yeah, I think Jimmy can just...
Jimmy
Okay, so we're going to
goes on
base this
clock.
on
Jimmy
one
Butler-
playoff series from 3 years ago?
I'm going off
think
of his consistent effort against top wings.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Jimmy's the kind of guy that can kind of be like, again, I'm going to compare it to the Warriors with Klay Thompson, where Klay, it's like, all right, Klay, he's the number 1, you're on him. That's Jimmy. All right, Jimmy, that's their number 1, you're on him. And Jimmy's going to go. Yeah,
Paul George
sometimes...
is
Andre Roberson.
Okay, fair, but also, how many better defenders are there than Andre Roberson?
Like 4.
And Paul George is what?
In basketball.
Top 10? and Paul George is like
just the
10?
NBA?
I think Jimmy's before Paul George as far as defense is concerned.
How? It's just an opinion thing. Then we're just going back on opinions. What is your facts? Last year, statistically, Paul George was a better defender.
Jimmy Butler came back when he wasn't healthy. Mm-hmm. So he
That's not statistics. It's just it's nothing to do with statistics.
Look at the stats of when he was healthy versus when he was injured, and then the games he played after the injury. I'm lazy, and I'm not going to do it. But I'm going to tell you what I feel. The years going up to this point, though, you can admit that Jimmy Butler had been the guy, like Ricky said, who goes out and guards the opponent's best player and goes out and drives at the basket, creates contact, puts people in foul. He does everything I want a true 1 to do. Paul George is the perfect 2. Paul George is the Klay Thompson of 2s. He's exactly what I want to be for my second best player on the team. But he is not the guy. Jimmy Butler's a guy who I can say, I could see him and I know Ricky won't agree with this, is I could see him being the best guy on a team going into a championship.
Who, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see
I don't
that.
know if he can win a championship being the best guy on his team, but I can see him taking a team there.
Can I ask you this?
Yes.
Who has a higher point per game in the playoffs?
Probably Paul George, because Jimmy Butler played that year where like he was the 6th option on a Bulls team early in his career.
He was the defensive guy to Dwight Rose's offense.
When? Are you talking about 2011, 2012?
Literally, yeah.
He only played 3 games.
And then
didn't take
following
a
year.
shot attempt.
Well,
Okay, in that second game, in that second year, he played 40 minutes and scored 13 a game.
Yeah.
Here, let's just do this then.
At what point was Paul George the number one option? When Danny Granger broke his leg.
the thing I want to quickly
He's been the
mention.
option from 2012 to 2013. He took more than 10 field goal attempts per game. So if we're doing that criteria for this, Jimmy also in his second year took 9.6 attempts per game. So, but going from again 10 attempts per game, Jimmy averaged 19.9 points per game. Paul George 22.6.
But look at the systems they played in. Look at the like you can't just that's the thing. Numbers are great, but numbers on their own have no context.
You're talking about the systems though, and I mean looking at it though, Jimmy Butler.
The Bulls team was anemic on offense. I think they averaged like 91 points. Like they were awful on offense.
When?
The entire time they made the playoffs, like their team was defense. Thibodeau was defense. They didn't have an offensive presence on that coaching staff even. Like honestly, you look back at those teams and it was how they got there was defense. How they played defense. Like that was all that mattered. Like their offensive system was non-existent.
2014 they were the 11th best offensive team. And points per game they had 100. They were 15th. They were 15th best in the league.
So they were average at offense and insane at defense.
9th on opponent's points per game.
Yeah, I mean
that was when they finished second in the Central in 15-32.
Oh, that was 15-32. Okay.
And that was Jimmy Butler's like first great year. He put up 22 points in the playoffs.
There we go.
So and then looking at
Paul
that,
George had like 24.
Again, still, yeah, but looking at that, then if you take his last 3 times in the playoffs from 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2017, 2018, and looking at Paul George from 2012, 2013, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2016, 2017, and 2017, 2018.
Better score?
Paul George is still a better scorer. Cool. 22.6 points per game to Jimmy Butler's 21.3. And looking at the percentages, Jimmy shot 43.8% from the field, 37.5% from 3, and 81% from the line. Paul George, 42.9% from the field, however, 38.1% from 3, and 80% from the line. And also assist-wise, Paul George had 7.5 rebounds, Jimmy had 6.1, and also assists, Paul George 4.4 assists per game, where Jimmy had 3.7. So, in the clutch, yes, Paul George can't hit a game-winning shot to save his life or a game tire to save his life. But in the playoffs, as a number one option, even with OKC last year as well, including
not
that
being
year,
the number one option,
being the number one option in Indiana, added with the number 2 option, he's performed better than Jimmy Butler in his career in the playoffs.
I still disagree, and I think it's one of those things where it comes down when you watch the game and personal preference.
The thing
what do you see? What are you looking for? Kind of thing.
I have always been. I will make this clear.
I'm a Jimmy defender,
and I've always been a person that bashes Jimmy Butler. We had this discussion 2 years ago or something like that.
When I said that he's a number one, and you said he's not.
No, and I think you were saying I said who's more of a number one option, Kawhi Leonard or Jimmy Butler, and you said Jimmy Butler.
Yeah,
Kawhi's above him. Kawhi's more of a number one option.
They're both number ones right now. Still, like Jimmy Butler's the number one on his team.
It's not wrong. But that's not the point.
Argument was, who would you rather have as a number one option? Kawhi or Jimmy
Kawhi just
Jimmy
no-showed his team.
You took Jimmy Butler.
Kawhi Leonard sat out half a season because he didn't feel like it, and Jimmy Butler came back early
then why didn't you
injured
put
to
Jimmy
play
Butler?
for the playoffs.
Then why didn't you put Jimmy Butler over Kawhi Leonard?
Because Kawhi Leonard's a better player.
Okay.
And that's what I want to
Thank
get
you.
at. And
that was my point.
And that's what I've been trying to get at.
But there's some circumstantial shit going on that you can't just ignore.
Here's what I want to get at, what you got at, Dave. When he came back from the injury, yeah, it was only 3 regular season games before the playoffs, but he was shooting 51 from the field. His 3-point percentage was horrible, but he was only averaging 2 per game. He had 1 attempt, and then 4 attempts in those games. He got to the line
So we're basing this argument off 3 games?
No, he's setting the mood.
This is where he came back, where
Okay.
the biggest thing is him getting to the line in those games. Yeah, he averaged 10, but he got to the line for 11 free throws in one game. 13 went 10 of 13 in one game, And that's what Jimmy Butler brings to a team to where, hey, I'm going to wear out your defenders. I'm going to get to the line. And he still averaged 21.3 points, which is around where Paul George averaged the entire year.
He willed that team into the playoffs. You got to give him some credit for that.
I'm not
They won all
discrediting him.
3 games, too.
We're trying to say why is one better than the other. So I will take everything off of Jimmy Butler as I possibly can.
No, I know.
And one thing too is I never said that Jimmy Butler was worse at getting to the line than Paul George.
No,
I also don't think that
He's
means a better
how good
player.
he is.
But I don't think that defines a better player. Jimmy Butler has his play style. Paul George has his own play style. I like Paul George's play style better. And yes, while he might not be as great as a distributor, he might not rack up the same assists, we also don't have a guy like Russell Westbrook playing next to Jimmy Butler, who is racking up assists like 10 a game, where Jimmy Butler didn't have that for the past 3 years. Maybe some people will say Rondo.
He had 6 or 7 this past year, and I know that Teague.
Oh.
I think Teague averaged like 6 or 7. He wasn't amazing. And then, Rondo was obviously Rondo.
But again,
that was a whole different system. That was the Young Bulls.
Let me ask you this then.
Okay.
Take Russell Westbrook out of it, Butler, George. If you're building a team, who do you want as your number 1? Paul George or Jimmy Butler?
Do I have full faith that they are going to be healthy?
Yeah.
Like no injuries at all?
Yeah.
And then past injury doesn't matter?
Sure.
Paul George.
See, I would go Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, same.
And that goes into
Where do you see
have I seen Jimmy Butler be a better number 1? Yes. He was. I would say Jimmy Butler's last 2 years in Chicago was better than Paul George's post leg break in Indiana. However, let's look at the last 2 years of Jimmy Butler, Minnesota and Chicago. He has been one of the worst teammates outside of Kawhi Leonard giving up on his team in the NBA. He has been consistently calling out his teammates, bashing his teammates, and that changed from city to city. I think that's not on Jimmy Butler just going to 2 of the worst teams in the NBA. It's going about Jimmy Butler's mindset. Hey, does that make him a competitor? Maybe. But also, does it make him kind of a dick? Probably.
The only thing I'm going to say,
at least when it comes to the locker room, I don't know if Jimmy Butler
somebody in the comment section could say
Obviously.
that throws a little wrench into this is when it comes then to the rankings, are you looking at it just as pure basketball? Or like for you, where I would take locker room issues as not looking at their abilities in pure basketball. That's taking like
we're looking how
off
they
the
are going
court.
to do this year. And I think now with Carmelo Anthony not being on the team and Andre Roberson now being with the team fully healthy, that is going to make Paul George even more valuable because that team's going to be better defensively and it's going to give shot opportunities back to Paul George and take it away from Carmelo Anthony. I think it's going to be a more efficient team. I think it's going to be a more efficient Paul George. And we're looking from a more efficient Paul George who just shot 45, 40, and 80 from 3. He's going to become more efficient. His point percentage are going to increase and he's going to be a guy that's looked at more of a number 2 option. And that's going to be a number 2 option that's arguably the best number 2 option in the NBA. And yes, Jimmy Butler's a number 1. Congratulations. But also, if we're starting a team, Jimmy Butler's not the guy I'm picking on that team to start my team with. I'm picking Karl-Anthony Towns over Jimmy Butler to start my team with.
You're batshit for that. But
How?
hang on.
There's been like 15 players.
The number 2 thing was just hilarious because did you forget that like Clay?
What?
Kevin Durant is the number 2 on his team. Then Klay Thompson's the number 3 on that team, who I would take over Paul George even.
By the way, Steph wants to be a warrior for life. That
Steph,
was
a
on the
warrior
front
for
page.
life.
Okay, real quick. I don't count the Warriors when we're talking about anything in the NBA.
That's fair.
They don't count.
That's fair.
They have 2. They don't have 2. They don't have a number 2 on that team. They have 2 Hall of Famers. Like they have 2 of the greatest players of all time.
Yeah, that's fair.
So like I don't think that counts as who's the number 2? Is it KD? No, I think it's Steph. And then some people say no, it's KD.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I want to give a shit for that.
And the thing I think about too is like when you're making your debate, we're debating back and forth.
Yeah.
When you bring up the like,
wait, real quick though. Just the Clay versus Paul George thing.
Yes.
Both are great defensively. I've never seen Clay outside of being a number 2 or number 3. I have seen Paul George as a number 1.
But
Fair.
I think of it like in this argument for these rankings, I kind of relate it to, I think it was today on Get Up, where they wanted it. I don't remember who it was. I think
Get
it
Up
was
should
Lauren,
pay us for how
I
many
think it was
fucking
like
times we
Lauren
mentioned their
Ruffledge.
fucking show.
I love that show. I love Jalen Rose on that show. Let's be honest. But like she
Jay's
brought
great.
she brought up the whole LeBron MJ thing, and she was like, "Well, LeBron is better than MJ," and Jalen Rose is like, "Wait a second. Are we just doing basketball? Are we talking about all the off the court, the charity stuff?" And she goes, "Just basketball." That's what this is. When you bring up that stuff, especially for these rankings, I think of that off the court, like he's a bad teammate and he doesn't like the younger kids. As that, like bringing the charity into the LeBron Jordan debate.
I'm talking about the teammate thing as starting a
franchise.
Yeah,
you're not talking about that in the ranking. Like,
no,
you didn't.
My
put Paul
rankings
George
are based off who I think will be a better basketball player this year, and I think Paul George will be a better basketball player this year.
And that's what I wanted to clarify because it could have been lost in translation that you were using that in the ranking to put Paul George ahead.
If we're doing GOAT rankings, I'm not going to say LeBron's a better father, so that's why LeBron's a better basketball player. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, and if you're Colin Cowherd, you say John Wall's the worst player because he didn't have a father. I mean, that's just that's just Colin Cowherd being a horrible person at times. I had to bring it up. I know you like him.
That's what Cowherd said.
It's not even that. It's a horrible thing to say.
It really
because Cowherd's a horrible person.
At times he can be. But the one last thing I want to nail on that you nailed the bad teammate thing, the calling out your teammates. I think it's kind of funny because when Kobe did it, it was Kobe. I've got an edge. I've already won though. That's the difference. It was he'd won championships already, and he felt like it was that Kobe drive to win. It was that MJ drive to win. When Jimmy Butler does that, I feel like it was a learned trait from working under Thibodeau. I feel like he has that drive to play, and if you're not trying your hardest at all times, then you're not trying. And I think that's what he's trying to push on these young kids.
Probably picked that up from Kevin Garnett.
And, well, yeah, that's entirely possible. That's entirely possible how that kind of fell down.
And even then, Kevin Garnett still worked with Karl-Anthony Towns.
And yeah, you're right.
And Andrew Wiggins. And I don't think we heard anything about Kevin Garnett calling out Karl-Anthony Towns or Andrew Wiggins. And yes, that was old man KG taking a paycheck at 41 years old. But also, I don't think that means his fire was gone or his intensity was gone.
Because anything is possible.
KG was taking the retirement tour, going back home. But also, I mean, KG is still a crazy guy and a crazy competitor.
Yeah.
Anyways,
but we can at least agree that the top, is 1-2.
We agree that Kevin Durant's the best small forward now, and we agree that Kawhi's second. Can Kawhi overtake him?
I don't know. I don't think so.
But Kevin Durant, not a chance. Like Patrick Kane said after the 2010 Stanley Cup, not a chance, not a chance.
Thank you for that quote for saying. I love that you had to say that quote. Yeah, no, but just saying you said not a chance, but then you had to quote.
Yep.
Not a chance, not a chance.
Well, yeah, just said it twice.
Yeah.
Not a chance,
real
not
important.
a chance.
Made it real emphatic.
I mean, Kevin Durant's the greatest scorer of all time. Like it's disgusting.
Let's be honest. The only reason
Kawhi
he's
be the best
one.
two-way player of all time?
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, I could say that.
Maybe.
Could he play his way to that?
He's got a long way to go. That's the problem. Is he's only been a solid two-way player for like 2 years, and this would be his third if he is healthy. So I think there's a lot to prove, and I don't want to crown his ass, kind of thing. There's a lot to go. There's a lot to go. But Kevin Durant, I mean, dude's insane. 7-footer with a shot that's beautiful. He's unstoppable on offense. And when he's locked in on defense, he's not too shabby. Like there's nothing to not just goddamn,
Who is the best two-way player of all time?
Jordan.
Is it?
I'm guessing.
I would say so. He was a two-way player, and he's the GOAT, so he's the best two-way player of all time.
But what defines a great two-way player? Is it just being
you're phenomenal at offense and phenomenal at defense?
I mean, Jordan was there, Kobe was there.
There was a clear discrepancy between Jordan's offense and defensive game.
Yeah, but when you look at people talk about Jordan, especially guys that have played against him, they usually say on the court he was the best offensively on the court of all time and the best defensively on the court of all time.
But Jordan also let Pippen play defense against the best wing, so you gotta knock that. I know this isn't where this discussion's going, but I think the argument
it's a good
I think the argument's there for guys like for Kobe who have been a 20 plus score for his entire career. I think he was like an 8-time All NBA team for defense, first or second team kind of thing. Chris Paul's up there. I think Tim Duncan.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's weird to look back at the bigs, but yes, bigs count. It's not just a guard wing league.
Well,
if they were counting blocks, maybe Wilt.
And
if they were counting blocks,
50, 25, and probably had 40
15 blocks at least. Yeah, no. I mean, it's crazy to think about, but
let us know who you think the best two-way player of all time is. Reggie Miller, maybe.
All these articles.
Wasn't he a good defender?
Today.
He was a good defender, but he really was not an amazing offensive.
Literally before my time.
Yeah,
I wasn't born.
Yeah, I watched him.
All the rank, I'm looking for articles with rankings. Yeah. All of them are today. Like in the game today, I was
Who do
like,
they
no,
have
I want
today?
all
Yeah.
time. No, I'm looking at a forum. Like this guy has for point guards, he's got Walt Frazier, Dennis Johnson, Gary Payton, Michael Ray Richardson.
Peyton was good on defense. He wasn't
John-
as good as an offensive player.
John
though.
Stockton,
No.
Jerry West. Shooting guards, he's got Kobe Bryant, Joe Dumars. He was pretty good on defense. Michael Jones, Sidney Moncrief, Bill Sherman. Small forwards, he's got
Ron Artest.
Ron Artest, formerly known as Ron
Oh,
Artest.
wait, so you didn't have Jordan on that list at
Yeah,
all?
he did.
No.
Michael Jordan.
Oh,
Michael
okay.
Jordan is simply the platinum standard for every two-way player
There you
at
go.
every position. That's what he put
So
forward.
yeah, I think Jordan Kobe is always at the top of that. But Tim Duncan,
But like Kevin
rightfully
Garnett's
earned
also there. Kevin
KG.
McHale,
Oh,
Yep.
Kevin Garnett's a good
Kareem,
one,
Wilt,
Yeah,
Tim Duncan, Hakeem is there. David
Oh,
Robinson.
Hakeem's a good one, too.
yeah. So there's a lot of good ones out there. I
Let
don't
us
know.
Let us know your favorite two-way player.
Yeah.
So which
If
probably
you
ends
made
up
it through this,
Who do you think?
hour,
Who do you think is the greatest
40
player of all
minute-
time? Is it Michael Jordan or Michael Jordan? Anyways, congrats on making it. This is way too long. So
Yeah.
for Ricky
I liked
Widmer,
it.
for Dave Oster, I'm Sean Anderson. Don't forget to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Don't forget to check out mostvaluablepodcast.com. Also, don't forget to rate us 5 stars on iTunes. If you liked what's liking pain?
Masochist.
If you're a masochist and listen to this for an hour and a half, don't forget to rate us 5 stars. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.